In a quiet valley, tucked between silver-tipped mountains and whispering woods, there was a village that feared what it did not understand. The village was small and old, its rooftops red with clay tile and its streets paved with uneven stones, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Here the world was simple, and people preferred it that way. No magic, no mystery, only wheat fields, bread ovens, and sturdy, ordinary things. So, when Elara was born under the blood-red moon, in the deepest hour of a winter's night, the burrow midwife cried out, not in joy, but fear. Her hair, it was aflame, not like the red hair of her mother, who had once been called lovely, and not like the orange leaves that fell each year from the oaks. No, Elara's hair shimmered like living flame. It crackled and glowed, yet gave no smoke, no heat. It curled over her tiny scalp in flickers of firelight, soft as breath and yet impossible to miss. She's cursed, the midwife whispered, crossing herself as she drew back. That's not hair, that's a curse burning right on her head. Amara, the young mother, pale from the labor, did not answer. She had seen it to her daughter's flickering crown, yet when she held Elara to her chest, the crying softened, and something strange stirred in the air around them, like the wind itself had paused to listen. She is not cursed, Amara said firmly, though her voice wavered. She is mine. But the village did not agree. Word spread faster than wildfire. The baker's wife told her neighbors. The blacksmith shook his head and crossed the road when Amara passed. No one would touch the child. No cradle was carved. No priest blessed her at the market. They whispered Elara's name only in warning, and even then, too softly to be heard by the wind. Still, Amara raised her child by herself, in a crooked cottage on the forest's edge where sunlight barely reached. Her husband had been lost to fever before Elara was born, and now, the village turned its back as well. But Amara did not complain. Each night, she fed her baby warm broth and hummed lullabies from her own girlhood under the olive trees. As Elara grew, so did the fire in her hair. By her 3rd birthday she no longer needed lanterns to read by, her glow lit the room. Her curls danced like candlelight even in sleep, and always her hair moved, even when the air didn't, as if it sensed something the rest of the world could not. Amara tried her best to keep her daughter hidden, but children cannot grow in cages. One spring, when the snow began to melt and the creeks chuckled with the laughter of running water, Elara wandered into the village square. The sun was high, the air thick with the scent of bread and flowers. Curiosity danced in her amber eyes as she stared at the market stalls lined with apples, honey, and velvet ribbons. That was when they saw her. A boy screamed. A mother pulled her child behind her. A woman dropped her sack of apples, and they rolled across the cobblestones like marbles, unnoticed. It's her, someone whispered. The flamehead. She brings misfortune. Keep your children back. Amara reached her daughter just as the whispers grew into yelling. She scooped Elara into her arms, her face pale. The mayor himself came forward, his robes dragging the dust. This child is a danger. She is just a girl, Amara protested, clutching her child. She is not just anything, the mayor said grimly. Do you think we haven't noticed the withering crops, the sudden illnesses, the wolves near the sheepfold? The sky is wrong. The birds fly in circles, and this began after her birth. These things are not her doing. I don't care if they are or not, he said. People are afraid, and when people are afraid, they require solutions. You will leave before the week ends. And so, on the 7th sunrise, Amara and Elara packed what little they had, a tattered shawl, a bundle of food, a single spoon carved by Elara's father before he died. They walked north, following no path, only the pull of something neither of them could name. They wandered for days, sleeping in mossy hollows and abandoned barns, until the land turned rugged and the wind smelled of salt and sky. At last, they came to a forest older than memory. The trees there grew thick and twisted, with bark like armor and leaves that shimmered silver even in daylight. No birds sang in this place, no animals stirred at their passing, but beneath the hush, something ancient watched. It was here, deep in the woods, that Amara fell ill. Perhaps it was the cold, or the sorrow she had swallowed each night. Perhaps the curse had clung to her heart like frost. But she grew weaker with each passing hour, her steps slower, her silence deeper, and Elara, only a girl of 7, gathered sticks for fire each morning. She foraged berries and fetched water with cold-numbed hands, and each night she lay beside her mother, her hair casting warmth and light over the damp forest floor. But one evening, Amara did not wake, Elara did not cry. Not that day. Not the day after. She sat beside the still form of the only person who had ever loved her, watching the shadows stretch and the sky flicker with snow. Her fire hair dimmed, her heart stilled. That night, As frost crept over her mother's lashes, Elara looked up at the stars and spoke for the first time in days. Why did they fear me? The wind stirred the branches. Why was I born with fire? Far above, something rumbled, not thunder, not wind, but something older. Something like a voice breaking through silence. The flames in her hair flared suddenly, blue and wild, and for the first time, the fire was not silent. It roared, and the those ancient, silver-capped trees bent inward, as if leaning to listen. That was when she saw the light in the distance, a flicker, a thread of gold between the shadows. She rose and followed it. The golden thread wound through the forest like a trail only she could see, glowing faintly, tugging at something deep in her chest. It was not a path, not truly it led under fallen trees and through thickets of bramble. Yet the thorns never caught her, and the mud never slowed her steps. She followed it without question, for she had nothing else to follow, and the weight of silence behind her made the fire in her veins burn a little brighter. After what felt like hours, or maybe days, the trees parted. Before her stood an ancient archway half swallowed by moss and vines. It was carved of black stone, impossibly tall, etched with glyphs she could not read. The thread of golden light passed beneath it and vanished into the dark beyond. Elara hesitated. The wind had stilled. The smell of forest and frost was gone. Only the soft rustle of leaves whispered behind her, like a breath holding itself. She stepped through. On the other side was a garden unlike anything she had ever dreamed of. Tall grass glowed silver under a midnight sky that never brightened. Flowers bloomed in colors with no names. Trees bore lanterns of fruit that buzzed gently with light, and water flowed backward through rivers of glass. A soft music played, not through instruments, but through the ground itself, like the roots were humming secrets. In the center of the garden was a tree, taller than any she had seen, with bark as dark as the void and branches like outstretched arms, and beneath it sat a woman. The woman was old, older than age, really. Her skin shimmered like ivory dipped in moonlight, her hair long and braided, sparks like distant stars woven into every strand. She looked not at Elara, but into the garden, as if waiting for time to catch up. Elara stepped forward quietly. The woman did not move, but spoke in a voice that felt like stone wrapped in velvet. I was beginning to wonder if you would come. Elara hesitated. Do you know me? The woman tilted her head slightly. I know what you are. Elara lowered her eyes. A curse? No, the woman said. A vessel, to carry a curse, Elara whispered. The woman finally turned to look at her, and her eyes silver as new moons burned, with a sorrow that made the garden dim for a breath. To carry a fire? Elara's shoulders stiffened. It's inside me, isn't it? The woman nodded. It's older than you, older than me. You were born with it for a reason, but I didn't ask for it. The girl protested. No one ever does, the woman said gently. But what you do with it you can choose. That is why you are here. They stood in quiet for a while. Even the garden seemed to bow its head. Then Elara asked, why do people fear me? Because fire changes things, the woman replied. It burns away what was. It reveals what is hidden. It does not fit into quiet, simple lives. And people fear what does not fit. Elara took a deep breath. Is there a way to make it stop? No, the word landed like stone. But, the woman added, there is a way to understand it. She extended her hand, and fire curled around her fingers, not destructive, not wild, but tame and gentle, like it breathed with her. Come, she whispered. Elara stepped forward and placed her small, scarred hands into the woman's, and in that moment, the fire in her hair surged not wild, but alive. It didn't consume, it illuminated. Her thoughts, her memories, her grief all glowed before her eyes like 1,000 flame-lit mirrors. She saw her mother's love, every lullaby sung in the dark, every tear Amara had hidden so Elara wouldn't see. She saw the villagers' fear, not born of hatred, but ignorance. The faces of children who had been told that anything strange was dangerous. She saw her own loneliness like a hallway with no doors. And in the heart of it all, nestled like an ember in ashes, she saw the origin of the fire. It was not human, nor was it evil. It was a gift once given to the wrong hands. A flame of judgment, of truth. It had been meant to separate the worthy from the cruel, to light the way during dark times, but when those same hands used it for conquest, it had been hidden, away sealed in silence, and born again only in those brave enough to carry it. You are not cursed, the woman said again. You are chosen. You are born of love and fire. One lights the world, the other reshapes it. Now Elara's eyes flooded with tears, but they did not fall. The heat upon her cheek dried them before they could reach her skin. She looked into the flame cupped in the woman's palms. What am I to do with it? The woman leaned down and whispered, let it show you the truth. And just like that she was gone. The garden faded. The ground disappeared. The trees fell away like drawings on old torn paper. And Elara woke, in her own forest. The archway was gone. Above, the sky pulsed with coming dawn. Behind her, the cold silence of her mother's passing still clung like fog. But ahead, the flame in her hair was pulsing again, and in her chest something new burned. Resolve. She did not return to the village. Not yet. Instead, she wandered with purpose. Through distant valleys, through broken towns and storm-wrecked coasts. Word of her came like myth-a-girl with fire in her hair who healed old wounds, who banished wolves with a whisper, who wept over broken wheat fields and watched them bloom again by morning. Some said she could light the stars if she sang long enough. Others said she was the ghost of a sun goddess. But Elara knew the truth. She was no goddess. She was no curse. She was a spark the world had forgotten how to carry, and the fire was growing. It was many years before she returned. The village at the foot of the valley had changed. The rooftops sagged with time, and the fields had grown thin with harvest. The same cobbled streets wound through it, but the laughter was quieter now. Many elders had passed. Children now wandered where their grandparents once whispered warnings. They didn't recognize her. She was taller, her eyes older. The fire in her hair still burned, but it no longer flickered wildly. It moved with purpose, like a torch held high. Where she walked, frost melted. Fear did not follow her, only silence. At the center of the square she found the old well. Moss now crowned its stones. The same place where they had cursed her, called her dangerous. Elara placed a hand on its rim. "I forgive you," she whispered. A single flower bloomed. Behind her, villagers gathered. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. No one dared speak. No one moved. And then the smallest of the children, a boy no older than 7, stepped forward. "Are you the fire girl?" Her flame crackled softly in response. "Yes," she said. He looked up at her, fearless and awed. "You're not scary." She smiled and knelt to meet his gaze. "Neither are you." That evening, the village stood in silence as Elara lit a fire in the square, not of destruction, but of warmth. The people gathered closer than they had in years. Stories were shared. Old bitterness melted like snow on stone, and as the stars blinked into view, one by one, someone whispered, "Perhaps the fire was never the danger. Perhaps it was the fear." Elara said nothing. She only watched the flames dance and felt the world finally begin to glow.